Number 10. Cockroaches. Nice. Hope you're eating a snack right off the bat. I've been playing a lot of Fallout 4 recently. Cockroaches are going to outlive all of us. Apparently, you see it in movies, you see it in comic books, games. These little guys can survive anything, and they're really gross to look at, and they're fast. They can survive a literal apocalypse, however that may look. There are over 4,000 species of cockroaches, believe it or not, and they can withstand high levels of radiation, and they're on track right now to outlast all of our insecticides. This is so scary. I'm alarmed while I'm doing this. While these creepy crawlies are exposed to toxins, they quickly evolve right there in front of our very eyes. They can evolve on the spot. We're literally making them stronger right now. Although cockroaches will live 2 years at most, females give birth to around 300 offspring at a time. I just got goosebumps. That's horrible. I'm not a fan of bugs, but, well, we're at number 10, so it's gonna get worse. Number 9, mosquitoes. These little bloodsuckers have been around since the age of dinos. They're all over you when you're outside, when you're camping. All of a sudden, you're scratching all weekend and it's not fun. They're annoying, but when it comes to the Amazon rainforest, mosquitoes there are much worse than you could ever imagine. Mosquitoes are one of the most dangerous because, well, for starters, they can fly. That ought to be pretty helpful. And you don't see them coming, and by the time you do, it's far too late. That's it. If you travel to parts of the Amazon rainforest and you don't have yellow fever vaccinations or extremely strong mosquito repellent, well, you're gonna have a very bad time, my friend. These suckers are literally just clouds of malaria just waiting for you to walk into. Even cottages, I can't do it. I have to wear the net costume around my head the whole time. I feel like a knight when I wear one of those, but you know what? I feel safe. Number 8, box jellyfish. Let's go under the sea for a hot minute. We talked about the blue ring octopus on here before, so, you know, what other haunting discovery lurks below the waves? Box jellyfish, of course, also not wise to touch, so don't think about it. But Australian box jellyfish specifically, they have plenty of venom. They're super deadly, and it doesn't help that they're practically transparent in the ocean. They look like little bags of skin going by. I don't know why I said bags of skin. That's an odd thing to say. You won't see them coming at all. They're just clear blobs that float towards you, and its tentacles can sting you with its millions of nematocysts. Also, peeing on your leg won't solve this problem. It's not gonna work this time, pal, alright? Zip up, not a good idea. Australian box jellyfish carries around toxins that cause extreme pain, paralysis, delirium, cardiac arrest, and or even death, all within 5 minutes or less. You won't even have time to get your goggles off and ask for help. You'll be done just like that. One jellyfish has enough venom to kill 60 adults. Yikes. I'm never swimming again in the ocean. Specifically, not with 59 other adults, that's for sure. That's a bad setup. Number 7, black caiman. If you aren't a fan of alligators or things with a lot of teeth, you might want to skip to the next one. Black caiman is the largest family member in the Alligatoridae crew. Alligatoridae crew. Alligatoridae, that sounds like a spell. Alligatoridae. Turn you into a Alligatoridae. These super alligators live in calm, slow-moving rivers, places you really wouldn't expect, you know, a dinosaur to jump out at you all of a sudden. Just like dangerous river snakes, these black caiman will take it slow and wait for their prey to have a sip of water. And then the largest predator in the Amazon will grab its lunch in a second and then quickly return to the water. You won't even see them, they'll just grab it and go. Maybe they'll do that twisty thing, that's terrifying. Birds, reptiles, mammals, this thing can and will eat everything. Between 2008 and October 2013 alone, there were 43 black caiman attacks on people, and a handful of these were sadly fatal. Number 6, the green anaconda. Remember the movie Anaconda with Ice Cube in it? That was a great time, that was cool. This movie came out 25 years ago, and I still remember it to this day. It made me extremely afraid of snakes and the water, and also Ice Cube. I thought every snake was like a 30-foot long snake after this. It was not a good time. But just how accurate was that film? Although the green anaconda is a non-venomous snake, the boa constrictor is still one of the most feared. Green anacondas specifically live in calm marshes or slow streams. Again, they wait until their large prey gets thirsty, and then once they come to the water, the anaconda surfaces and suffocates its lunch. Yeah, anacondas hunt prey that's larger than us humans, so if they wanted to, they could for sure eat us. There's only no evidence of it happening because humans rarely interact with them in the first place, which is a pretty funny statistic, I guess. So anacondas don't know that they can eat us yet. So let's stay away just for good measure. Green anacondas can reach lengths of up to 30 feet long. So plenty of space for you and yours. Number 5, the devil worm. I mean, its name certainly sounds confident and scary. What is this thing? A worm from the underworld. Of course, this thing can survive it all. Even apocalypse, probably. This guy's literally from hell. The devil worm is a type of nematode, and it looks pretty haunting only under a microscope. In person, you can't really see it, but then when you look, it's the worst thing you've ever seen. The thing that sets this little devil apart from the rest of these bugs or creatures, whatever you want to call it, is that it doesn't need oxygen to survive, and it can do so in complete darkness and under the most extreme pressure. The devil worm is the deepest living animal on Earth, hence its cool and haunting nickname. Number 4, the cave robber spider. Also a cool nickname, but I don't like spiders, so here we go. The worst thing ever. Welcome back to Bumblebee. The cave robber spider, or troglodyte, can't tell which name is worse, I guess, is a quick cave predator that has a fun little addition over your standard spider. How neat is that? The cave robber has claws on the end of its legs, just to make it even worse. The cave robber likes to hang from its web from the top of, you guessed it, pitch black caves, and when it feels something a little too close for comfort passing below, it snaps its prey with its claws. One would compare it to a praying mantis, only in dark caves, and also a terrifying spider on the ceiling that you don't see. Stellar combo, if you ask me personally. If you live in Southwest Oregon, I'm so sorry. Please don't go in any caves. Number 3, the black widow. Another spider, just because I hate myself. We've all heard about this spider, but just how bad is her bite? The black widow is not only 1, extremely painful, but 2, it's incredibly toxic. Now at first you may not even feel anything. You may think you were bitten by a mosquito. There's slight irritation on the skin at first, nothing too bad, but an hour later, it is much, much worse. Now the ball's rolling. You'll be disoriented, you'll be dizzy, you'll be nauseous, your breathing will become difficult, all because of one little bite. Male black widows are much smaller and they contain much less venom than that of the female. A fact that you may have heard about this spider already that I can't get over personally is that the female black widow actually begins eating the male while they're mating, while they're getting it on. Top 10 ways to spice up your spider marriage. You won't believe number 4. That is brutal. Oh, those poor guys. Now this is called Latrodectus mirabilis, and it's now the scariest thing that I've ever heard. If you do get bit, just relax, take it slow and breathe, because luckily we have an anti-venom for this bite. Number 2, scorpions. I always say I'm afraid of spiders, and that's for sure a fact, but I'm sleeping on scorpions. They're a horrible combination of everything scary. Scorpions can survive in deserts, rainforests, some mountains. I mean, I don't want to alarm anybody here on Bumblebee, but they're kind of everywhere. I don't know, one might be under your bed right now as you're watching this, right as you're clicking that thumbs up right now, right as you're hitting subscribe right now. A scorpion can be hitting subscribe. A scorpion can subscribe with its stinger, you know? Sometimes you'll find a scorpion completely frozen outside. It's immobile and otherwise dead. But as time passes on, keep an eye on it, because some researchers would watch for these frozen scorpions and watch and wait for them to come back to life. They can do that. They slow their metabolism rate enough so if need be, they can live off of 1 insect a year. Bet you didn't know that, right? Terrifying, you're welcome. And finally, number 1, ants. Small but mighty, and they come in thousands, and they travel up your window and into your house. Ants are so scary, we have to talk about them. There's thousands of species of ants. We've talked about the bullet ant on here before, and how their bites feel like a bullet wound. Their sting is considered the most powerful in the world, and its effects can last 24 hours. That alone is a scary individual ant. But these guys come in all different shapes and sizes. The feature that allows them to survive for so long, of course, they can live deep in the ground, but they also sacrifice each other. That's the thing they do every day. They grab an ant and they're like, huh, and they just throw them off of a curb or something. If one ant is sick or injured, they'll all decide as an ant group that it's that ant's time to go. That's crazy. These guys are ruthless. How wild is that? They do this to ensure the safety of the rest of the colony, so that it doesn't get sick or, you know, it doesn't slow anyone down. That's brutal. That is ruthless. They're like little Vikings with antenna. They've been around for a very, very long time, and there's no reason to believe that any apocalypse can hold any ant or an ant colony back. I'm terrified. I spilled the drink yesterday. Now I feel like there's ants everywhere. What do I do?
Starting off this list, in our number 10 spot we have the Godzilla shark. With a name like that, this creature is surely anything but disappointing. About 300 million years ago, these guys ruled the sea and were one of the most terrifying sea creatures ever on our planet. Fossils of these guys have been found in the Manzano Mountains, which lie east of Albuquerque, New Mexico, and they were found in 2013 by paleontologist John Paul Hodnett. So think of a massive shark, but now picture it covered in scales, like a reptile. Okay, now add 12 rows of super sharp teeth and also the largest dorsal fin spines of any shark that has ever lived. Okay, now you've pretty much got the Godzilla shark. It was nicknamed the Godzilla shark because of its size, as the skeleton is the largest fossil of its kind ever discovered in the area, as well as the fact that its fin spines are so intriguing to look at. While it was called the Godzilla shark upon its discovery, it has since received a more official name of Hoffman's dragon shark, both to honor the family that owned the land where the skeleton was found, and as an homage to its monstrous and reptilian appearance. In our number 9 spot today we have the Shastasaurus. This extinct genus of Ichthyosaurus is one of the largest marine reptiles known, growing to be 21 meters long. One of the most interesting things about these guys is that they were quite specialized because they had quite a wild food preference. These guys had a thirst for squid. A study of their fossils revealed that they had short snouted skulls, which has led experts to believe that their jaws had the ability to open extremely quickly and very wide. This happened so fast it created a sort of vacuum inside of their mouth, sucking in anything that was in front of it. These guys didn't bother with teeth or strong jaws. They didn't need a crazy bite force or really to even move that quickly. They basically just needed to swim over to wherever their desired squid was hanging out and open their mouth. In our number 8 spot today we have the Dunkleosteus. Dunkleosteus. I don't know, man. This creature was a genus of Placoderm, which is a class of fish that has been extinct for around 360 million years. These ancient swimmers had osteoderms, which means that they had these plates of exposed bone that served as protection. It's like a built-in armor. These guys were some of the largest and most powerful Placoderms ever, and it had a terrifying ability that made it quite a worthy predator. It was their insanely powerful bite force, which has been estimated to be about 750 kilograms. That's wild. This has led experts to believe that these guys may have been a hypercarnivore, which means that they were feeding on some pretty tough prey. Other creatures that have outer protection like they do. Ammonites, they were able to chew through some pretty tough exteriors. In our number 7 spot today we have the Mauisaurus. These guys are a creature that was once very real, but they are thankfully a relic of our past because they are absolutely horrifying. They are named after the Maori god Maui, who is said to have pulled the islands of New Zealand up from the sea floor, so anything named after him is of course going to be an absolutely ginormous beast. The neck of this creature measured around 49 feet long, which is the longest proportionate neck of any animal. The entire creature measured around 66 feet long, so it's clear that their neck counted for a very large portion of their body. But like, imagine a swimming dinosaur creature with a huge snake for a neck. That's kind of what these guys were like. These guys lived on Earth during the Cretaceous period, which is good news for us, but not so much for the creatures that lived at that time. Creatures would jump into the water to avoid a T-Rex only to find this guy waiting for them. Yeah. No thank you. In our number 6 spot today we have the Helicoprion. This animal existed somewhere around 250 million years ago, and while it looks more like a shark than anything else, scientists now know it was actually a creature that is related more closely to chimeras, which are a fish that separated from the shark family about 400 million years ago. So why is this animal just scary and terrible to look at? Well, that is due to the incredibly unsettling spiral saw formation of teeth that this creature had right on their lower jaw. Yeah, an orthodontist's dream, truly. It's also not like this creature was just born with the teeth that they had for the rest of their lives. No, of course not. They had teeth that could grow, and new teeth could even form. Imagine being in the ocean and you see a huge creature swim up to you that has 4 spiral saws for teeth. No. In our number 5 spot today we have the megalodon. Is any terrifying prehistoric sea creatures list truly complete without an appearance from the Meg? Megalodons are one of the largest sharks to have ever existed. They were huge, they were terrifying, they were apex predators, and they are the creatures that inspired the tales of Jaws, or the Meg. The teeth on these sharks are so large that they are 3 times larger than the teeth of a modern great white shark. With teeth that size, you can only imagine how large this shark would have been. It's pretty tough to figure out exactly why the megalodon died out. I mean, they were one of the largest, scariest creatures who shouldn't have had any trouble finding food, but that might not be the case. Some believe it was the cooling water, others believe it was the competition for food. Whatever the case in the end, while the megalodon is an incredible creature in history, I think we can probably all breathe a sigh of relief that they aren't currently swimming around our oceans. Or are they? In our number 4 spot today we have Cretoxyrena. Measuring about 7 meters long, these creatures aren't necessarily the largest on this list full of prehistoric giants, but that does not mean it is any less terrifying. Fossil evidence has shown us that these creatures were ready to attack just about anything and everything that ended up in front of them. It could be a 4-meter long fish, a marine reptile like a mosasaur, or even a large turtle, it doesn't matter. The key to what made these guys so incredibly ferocious is their special teeth. Their teeth adapted to have a much thicker enamel, which meant that they were exceptionally resilient. This is perfect when you're trying to cut through shells and bones. These teeth are actually what landed these guys with the nickname of the Jinsu shark, which is named after the famous commercial for Jinsu knives, which are shown slicing through metal cans. In our number 3 spot today we have the Jacalopterus. Okay, I've got 3 words for you. Giant sea scorpion. Yeah, I'm not going in the prehistoric ocean. This 8-foot long arthropod lived in the water with its gross, too large pincers and claws, and honestly it looks like something out of the movie Alien. These guys had segmented bodies, and they are actually the largest known arthropod to have ever existed here on Earth. They had multiple specialized limbs, and some of them even had spikes, like for example, their 18-inch spiked claw that was used to snatch fish as it passed by. It is said that some of these guys would crawl out of the water in order to mate and sometimes shed their outer skin, and all I have to say about that is imagine finding an 8-foot long molt of one of these creatures on the beach right before going in for a swim. You wouldn't, right? I'd swear off all water after that. I'm not even drinking it anymore. I don't want any part of what these guys got going on. In our number 2 spot today we have the Tylosaurus. These creatures belong to the family of mosasaurs, and they have long eel-like bodies that allowed them to smoothly cruise through the waters. They had the ability to have intense bursts of speed that propelled them to their prey, which they could quickly take down. The snout of these creatures is thought to have been quite large and rather robust compared to other species of mosasaurs, which has led researchers to believe that they may have used it to their advantage. To do this, they might have rammed into larger prey so that they were stunned. This gave them time to turn around and finish the prey with their large jaws. Despite these specialized skills, it seems as though these guys weren't very picky with what they ate, as they have been found with all kinds of remains in their stomach area. These creatures were very large, but they were also way faster and more agile compared to their family members. What more could you want in a prehistoric predator? In our number 1 spot today we have the Leeds fish. This is a fish that lived in the oceans of our world from the middle to the late Jurassic. They are the largest ray-finned fish and among the largest fish that are known to have ever existed. The discovery of these fish has been a bit troublesome because of the fact that their skeletons aren't completely made of bone. There were large parts of them made of cartilage which did not fossilize. Because of this, it is difficult to estimate their true size, with estimates in the past ranging as large as 30 meters or 98 feet. More recent research, however, has lowered this number to the still exceptionally large measurement of 16 meters or 52 feet. Despite their large size, however, these fish weren't terrifying apex predators and instead were a part of a lineage of large filter feeders. These fish had gill arches that were lined with gill rakers, which had quite a unique system of bone plates that allowed them to filter the plankton from the sea water, which was their main source of food.
Number 10, the walking worm. Okay, this was my nickname back in high school. Nice, good to be back. This one sounds nice. Earthworm Jim, Gumby, I got them all. Just a walking, lanky worm dude. Meet the Hallucigenia fortis, named by Simon Conway Morris back in 1979. Conway Morris named it Hallucigenia fortis because of its bizarre and dreamlike quality. Sure, art's subjective, I guess, to each their own. There were over 109 specimens of these strange aquatic creatures, and they ranged in size from half a centimeter to 3 centimeters long. Now, number 10 on our list, okay, gotta start small, not too large, and since it was an invertebrate, it lacked a spine. Just like me, no spine, just all worm. Just all air, like an inflatable person. Defining features of the walking worm, as its name suggests, were these tentacles that protruded out from the body. It had spikes that it maybe and possibly probably walked on. How terrifying is that? And in 2015, scientists realized where its head was. Yeah, its real head. We thought a fossilized stain was its head for like 35 years, and then in 2015, we found its real head, and it looks like it's grinning almost, with 2 eyes. Dare I say worse than the stain? Let's stop looking.
Number 9. The big fin squid. From the Magnapinidae family, the big fin squid, or as I like to call it, this ocean alien with shoulders and elbows, belongs to a group of rarely seen cephalopods with a distinctive morphology, meaning that they're really weird looking and really rare. The first record of us catching and looking at this thing comes from 1907 in the Azores, but due to the damaged nature of the find, little information could be actually extracted. It just looked like a piece of wet crinoline pulled out of a lake. During the 80s, 5 specimens were found in the Atlantic and Pacific, so eventually the creature found a place amongst the books as its own species, entering the Magnapinidae, or squids. So it's not actually a squid, but like a third cousin. This thing looks like it crashed here on an asteroid, doesn't it? The arms are huge and held perpendicular to the body, creating the illusion of arms and elbows, giving it its trademark alien figure. Some of these things are longer than 10 meters too. That's like a school bus. These things are definitely living under the ice on Jupiter. I'm just gonna say it. I said it.
Number 8. Giant dragonfly. Dragonflies are awesome. I have a dragonfly tattoo. I had to check which arm. That's awesome. Welcome to being 28, I guess. But these sticky lads are old school, okay? Dragonflies are sweet. They were the first winged insects to ever evolve 300 million years ago. Modern dragonflies have wingspans of only 2 to 5 inches, but ancient giant dragonflies, again, as their name suggests, well, their wingspan was 2 to 3 feet. They're a lot bigger and scarier and stickier. I hope they never come back to this size. Again, like I mentioned in part 1, it's that high oxygen level that does the body good. Yeah, the Paleozoic era had these beasts hovering around because, the air was too good back then. Nearly all of their head is its eye, so you're f***ed in every angle, basically. The movie Dune, if you've seen this recently, great film. The ornithopters, they're engineered to fly like a dragonfly. This is based on real life science. Engineers in real life are studying dragonflies, their flight patterns right now with their wings. Just keep them small and we're good. Study away, keep them small, please.
Number 7. The frilled shark. Chlamydoslacus ingenius, aka the frilled shark, is the extinct species of shark that once swam our oceans. Thank gosh. Well, actually kinda still does. The frilled shark is considered a living fossil, not just its age and time spent surfing the coast, due to its primitive eel-like brown body. Its snake-like jaws, 8-foot body, and the way it moves under the water are all common in ancient serpents and water creatures. Yeah, this thing's a water dragon, basically. This thing's like an eel-serpent-shark hybrid. It swims the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, usually in deep, murky water. So am I just gonna snorkel into one of these things any day now? Good thing is that these things are really hard to find. Like, really hard. Usually caught by accident in commercial fishing nets, usually at depths anywhere between 50 and 1,000 meters. So unless you're free diving at night and have a supersonic lung span, you should be okay.
Number 6, the gastric brooding frog. I'm a big fan of frogs, except for when they, hatch out of their back. I don't like that. It's arguably the worst thing I've ever seen online, and I have read it, and have had read it for years. These frogs would swallow its egg back in the day, and then they would hatch them out of their mouth. If you watched it backwards, you'd be like, no, stop. They all went extinct back in 1983, but scientists have somehow figured out how to implant dead cells into a fresh egg from an entirely different frog species. So we may just see this fancy frog make a fancy comeback. Yeah, let's just hope these ones aren't born out of their backs. Do you want to see it? I feel like you want to see it. There it is. Enjoy. You asked for it. Thumbs up for this. It's life. It's nature.
Number 5, the giant sloth. Megatherium is an extinct species of ground sloth. Locals to South America, they lived between the Pliocene through the Pleistocene eras. Basically like a really long time. Yeah, this thing was big and heavy as a modern day elephant, but like sloth form. This massive beast was first discovered in 1788 on the banks of Argentina. The bones, of course, not one, Megatherium became extinct around 12,000 years ago, thank gosh, during the Quaternary extinction event, which also claimed most other large mammals in the New World. The extinction coincides with early America's settlement and the kill sites where sloths were slaughtered. I tried. Suggesting that humans were out fist fighting these things, aiding in such extinction. Yeah, all of a sudden mammoths are like way less scary. I wonder if they moved as slow too. Like a bear the size of an elephant moving in slow motion. So I just like throw it. It's like right here. Just be like there.
Number 4, Tasmanian tiger. Once native to Australia, of course the land of horrors, the Tasmanian tiger, also known as the thylacine, was a massive carnivorous marsupial that went extinct around the 1930s. Thank the Lord. Major factors here are, as you guessed, climate change, hunting, and its genetic diversity wasn't all too great. Now it's sad on one hand because these beautiful creatures, also kind of terrifying, they disappeared so recently, but it's recent enough that we have a shot at bringing them back. Yeah, I'm just scaring you with this one. I'm like, it's terrifying, right? They're coming back, 2024 in IMAX. Yeah, imagine looking outside and seeing this thing on your own front yard. Are we ready for this? I'm not. I've seen a moose once. Very scary, very scary. I was going 40 miles an hour. I was like, that's it. Specimens still remain preserved in jars. Yeah, thank God for those jars. I was wondering what that was in the fridge. A Tasmanian tibia. Nice, yum. In the science world, we already have some of the Tasmanian tiger genes present after scientists inserted them into a mouse fetus. Again, bold, but sure, they did it. One guy thought of that. How gross is that? The Australian Museum has been working hard to bring this beast back to life, only they're still lacking the DNA to fully recreate it. So if you have any jars of Tasmanian tiger parts, lend a helping hand for science, please.
Number 3. Dunkelostis, from Dunkel's bones, named after paleontologist David Dunkel, who discovered and studied the fossils. Ostis is Greek for bone, referring to the giant tectonic plates looking things that this thing is made up of. Being one of the largest and most powerful fish ever to swim in our waters, ever, these swimming tanks could eat pretty well anything it wanted, including other Dunkelostises. This thing was top dog. The first remains were discovered along Lake Erie cliffs. That's scary, that's like right over there. Dunkelostis could suck in and bite straight through any animal alive at the time, from the thick-shelled ammonites to the other placoderms with body armor. This thing was basically like the great-great-grandfather of any fish who eats other fish. They would even bite each other and dent their own armor. Their diet shifted from soft-bodied prey such as whales and sharks to larger armored prey such as placoderms. Basically, it liked to eat the little crunchy stuff instead of the soft-bodied megalodons. What a sentence.
Number 2, the moa. This New Zealand bird went extinct about 600 years ago. See, moa, they were these flightless birds, massive, might I add, and archaeologists first discovered its fossil in a cave, just hidden in the very back, right in the depths. Its flesh and everything was still attached. See, these ancient birds would reach about 5 feet tall, and when you think of dinosaurs, you probably think that's quite petite in comparison, but no, listen up. The birds stopped flying right after the dinosaurs went extinct. According to biologist Matthew Phillips from the Australian National University of Canberra, once the dinosaurs off, they now had freedom. They could go outside without having to make any daring escapes, right? They weren't terrified every day to be lunch. They walked around, they got fat, and they hung out in caves. So it might seem a little depressing to watch a creature lose the ability to fly, but it's because they're eating good, you know? They're good problems, right? Scientists have recently discovered moa DNA from ancient eggshells, so there's a possibility we might see these fatties hit the skies once again. Let's keep them on Weight Watchers this time around, you know? Let's keep them in the sky, keep them.
Number 1, Eurypterid. Long story short, an ancient huge sea scorpion. That's it. I'm done. No, I said no spiders, earwigs, and scorpions. No, that's it. An extinct group of arthropods that formed 470 million years ago, with 250 species of its own, the Euryptid is the most diverse Paleozoic class of its time. This is like the first of the creepy crawly stinger pincher things, you know? They declined in numbers and diversity until becoming extinct during the Triassic extinction event about 250 million years ago. Yeah, thank God. I can't even put a crayfish on a hook without squirming. Called sea scorpions, of course, because of 2 qualities. Being able to go in and out of water and having 2 sets of lungs. Yeah, this thing's a fossil, right? This thing just got way more terrifying. They are the largest known arthropods ever to have lived on Earth, ranging anywhere between a foot and 4 feet big. That's a longboard, Taylor. A skateboard with claws and pinchers and a tail, in and out of the water. Alright, the animal kingdom. How beautiful. Number 10, Longisquama. Longisquama is a very crucial genus of extinct reptile. I feel like I already sound like David Attenborough, dude.
The Longisquama insignis from the Middle to Late Triassic Formation.
That was not bad. That was not bad, come on. Longisquama means long scales. Insignis means small. The Longisquama insignis is notable for a number of long structures that appear to grow from its skin. Little mohawk boys, you know? These things were rad looking. They were Diapsids, which was a reptile subclass. A small group of climbing and gliding reptiles. Little jumper dudes. These guys were awesome. Little mohawk tree dudes. They lived in forests located on the supercontinent once called Pangaea. Its most notable feature is a double row of long scale-like pins running along its back, forming 6 to 8 pairs. It had one pair of scales for each of its pair of ribs, like knight's armor, little mini tectonic plates, mixed with feathers on top, and we get Longisquama's scales. Could be rows of wolverine claws, could be rows of feathers or dragonfly-ish wings. Scientists still don't know. This little mohawk boy is sick though. Little flying dude. Those are definitely little dragonfly wings, I'm calling it.
Number 9, Carnotaurus. Okay, Kyle and I, we had a different dinosaur animated movie growing up as kids, okay? Today you got the little dinosaur, that's cute, that's great animation. Back when we were younger, we had the scary dinosaur movie. Remember that one? Where none of them talked, with the Carnotaurus guy as the villain. Yeah, that one didn't talk. It was just the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm pretty sure I walked out of that theater, didn't say a peep. And this guy didn't have to, really. Look at him. The Carnotaurus was a unit. Yeah, they thankfully disappeared 69 million years ago. Nice. They were around the same size as a T-Rex, coming in at about 29 feet long, but they were nicknamed meat-eating bulls. So, yeah, that ought to tip you why they were the villains in said movie. They would run at about 25 miles an hour. They're one of the fastest and largest moving theropods to ever live. Its arms were smaller than that of a T-Rex, so we can roast them in some capacity, okay? We got them on some, on something. But honestly, it didn't matter because this one had horns, hence the meat-eating bull alias. It was rediscovered in 1984 by Jose Bonaparte in Argentina. They've only discovered one skeleton of these things, so hopefully there weren't too many of these poking around. Yeah, Annalena took me to see this one. I'm pretty sure I walked out. It fucked me up good. The scary guy, he runs out so fast. God, he's so fast.
Number 8, Plesiosaurus. Ah yes, the Plesiosaurus. A genus of extinct, very large marine reptile that lived during the early Jurassic period. It is known by nearly complete skeletons from the waters and rocks in England. It is known for its small head, long and slender neck, broad turtle-like body, short tail, and 2 pairs of large paddles for limbs, and is apparently the legendary, the one and only, Loch Ness Monster. Cue the bagpipes. The first complete skeleton of a plesiosaurus was discovered by paleontologist and fossil hunter Mary Anning in Jurassic Age rocks December 1823. Plesiosaurus are moderate size compared to what it was swimming around them at the time, usually only about 5 meters in length, and about 500 pounds. They had the head like a big pit bull, and the teeth like a big pit bull. They fed mainly on clams and snails. Okay, this is like a medium scary now, all of a sudden.
Number 7. The Great Auk. Once thriving in colonies off North Atlantic coasts, the Great Auk would grow 30 inches long, which isn't too scary, but hear me out. It had tiny wings that would only be used to swim. They were only 13 centimeters long. Kinda cute, but again, hear me out. They were small and jarring to look at. I mean, if this thing was coming at me today, I'd certainly have a rough time. But thankfully for hungry sailors, the Great Auk was greatly defenseless. Yeah, oops, sorry, we got a little snacky. Around the 1500s, European fishermen discovered this perfect area for hunting, and it just happened to be where most, if not all, of these great auks were living and thriving. Yeah, Newfoundland looked like the iceberg and club penguin. It was just like, stacked, just looking real good. Now the iceberg and club penguin is gone, as are these guys, so, not a bad bit. Also, I'm broken inside. I miss Club Penguin, RIP. By 1950, the last 2 known specimens were hunted by a single fisherman, hunted on LD Island, just off the coast of Iceland. Scientists plan on using genetic information extracted from their fossils or preserved organs. Remember those jars of organs? Those guys with the random jars of exotic bird pieces? They come in handy apparently. They plan on editing their DNA into the closest living species, which is now the razor-billed auk. So yeah, the organization Revive and Restore is behind the wheel on this one.
Number 6. Horseshoe crab. Horseshoe crabs are marine water arthropods of the family Lemuridae. Despite their name, they are not actually anything like crabs or crustaceans. Then what are they, dude? They're technically chelicerates, most closely related to arachnids like spiders and scorpions. Awesome. Like, what are we looking at here? What is this thing? Fossil records for horseshoe crabs extend back as far as 480 million years ago. Nice, thank God. Wait a second, nope, they're still around. Ha! These shelly dudes like to keep it shallow, however, in murky waters, mostly in Southeast Asia. Horseshoe crabs use hemocyanin to carry oxygen through their blood, which actually turns their blood blue due to the copper in said proteins. This feature is similar to what white blood cells do for us, and because of this, these guys are unfortunately blood harvested every year by us for medicine. Non-lethal, which involves collecting and bleeding the creature and then releasing them back into the sea. Yeah, I'd be way too scared to grab this thing. Are you kidding me? Like, I respect the animal kingdom, but like at a distance.
Number 5, Linenicus. It's not a Decepticon, it's a Linenicus. Close though. If you thought a T-Rex had tiny arms, wait till you see this little dude. Linenicus monodactylus, these guys roamed the lands of Mongolia 65 million years ago. I'm a fan of this dinosaur. Honestly, it's scary, and I get that, but I would honestly own this one as a pet. It was actually just giving the other dinosaurs the middle finger its entire life, basically, if you look at them. It had a little arm and one finger with one claw. That's what kind of situation. It was like Wolverine. It was like the chick from Wolverine, the one scratchy thing instead of the 3, she had the 1. Or Deadpool from the X-Men that no one liked. Also one blade, that one didn't work. In terms of these other monsters on this list, it's quite small, so maybe just one little kick to the neck, maybe you'll survive. Coming in at the size of a parrot, this little guy laid eggs and carved through everything and anything that snuck into their nest. Yeah, it was a carnivore. So T-Rex, Velociraptor, this little guy, all coming after you. If you don't hit that thumbs up, he's gonna get his middle finger and poke you.
Number 4, the Glyptodon. Basically an ancient armadillo. Yeah, now we're talking. With its rounded bony shell house and squat limbs, it resembles a giant dinosaur turtle, aging at between 5.3 million to 12,000 years ago. This thing was old. Glyptodon meaning grooved tooth because of its square teeth. This thing was big, 10 feet long, weighing as much as like 4,000 pounds. Like, picture a Volkswagen Beetle. This giant armadillo existed in present-day North and South America. Though the Glyptodon had a powerful tail and an armored back made of 1,000 bony plates, it likely lived a fairly peaceful existence. Vegetarian, nice smile, this thing was killing it. It mostly ate grass and never really had to even worry about getting into fights. That being said, the Glyptodon could easily defend itself. I mean, Captain America's shield for a back and a sledgehammer for a tail. It could literally Hulk smash said car. Early hunters likely stalked the Glyptodon for meat and its shell. To kill it, they had to turn it on its back, basically tipping over a car. Yeah, gotta give it up to the early humans. They were badass and strong.
Number 3, Spinosaurus. Another Jurassic Park star, and rightfully so. The largest carnivorous dinosaur of all time, even bigger than a T-Rex. Can you imagine that? I feel sick to my stomach already. 93 million years ago, they stopped terrorizing the lands of what is now Egypt and Morocco. Now, if you didn't already guess, its name translates to spine lizard, and that spine was quite long. Coming from me, like, that says a lot. The Spinosaurus would measure up to 60 feet long, and aside for its back, one of the most notable features is its 6-foot long head. Yeah, not neck, 6-foot long head. That's an Egyptian god. This is terrifying. Its mouth was similar to a crocodile's with straight, sharp teeth. He would just do the alligator smack and then just chomp the shit out of you and yours. Paleontologists from the University of Pennsylvania believe that this guy used to swim as well. Because where the first Spinosaurus fossil was found, that used to be the Beharia Oasis in Egypt, a massive swamp. Water or land, I want nothing to do with it. Long mouth, stretched neck McGee, stinky ancient alligator breath, get out of here. Never. Turtles, not even.
Number 2, Megalania. The Varanus priscus. This extinct species of giant monitor lizard is a part of the megafauna that inhabited Australia during the Pleistocene. It is the largest terrestrial lizard known to have existed, reaching an estimated length of 7 meters. Yeah, length of a killer whale, weighing around 5,000 pounds. Megalania is thought to have had very early and similar ecology to the modern Komodo dragon. The fossils of lizards in Australia date back around 50,000 years ago. The First Nations peoples of Australia encountered these ancient dragons, and we actually hunted these things way back. These things can sprint 3 meters a second, Taylor.
God, he's so fast.
Whenever I'm tired at the gym, I'm just gonna picture this giant lizard just like trucking behind me. From its size alone, scientists suggest it would have fed mostly upon large-sized marsupials and mammals such as the Australian lion. Oh, that's good. Yeah, this thing ate lions, dude. With its heavily built limbs and body, A large skull, a jaw full of serrated blade-like teeth. Some scientists regard Megalania as the apex predator for the last thousands of years. Yeah, I'd like to think so. It's Australia too. Dude, that makes it like 18 times worse. Oh yeah, and it was venomous. Of course. Of course.
And finally, number 1, Titanoboa. The worst for last. Here we go, my sweet bees. The Titanoboa was over 40 feet long. That's 2/3 of a bowling lane. In case you want to imagine it in your head. There you go. Every time you let that ball go, just think, snake, 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 still a snake. That's how long it was. It's quite horrifying. And if we were born 58 million years ago, we'd have to avoid being eaten by this thing. Again, we grew up watching Anaconda, okay? We know how scary these things can be, especially when Angelina Jolie's dad's running the ship. He doesn't know the maps well, he's gonna take it into a swampy area. Snake's gonna come out, ruin the day. Paleontologists found this beast recently. Its fossil was excavated back in 2004, believe it or not, in Colombia near Lake Maracaibo. But it wasn't until 2009 where it was publicly described. Yeah, it took them 5 years to be like, should we tell them? I don't know, why should we? I mean, do we have to? So far, we only have the remains of 30 adult Titanoboas. That's 29 too many, if you ask me. I say we, like ourselves have one? No, we don't have it. Imagine that, I'd be sick. Even people who have snakes as pets, I'm never gonna visit. Sorry, you're alone for the holidays this time. Just you and your snake with a human name for some reason. Enjoy it. He doesn't bite. I'm like, cool, I still don't like him.
Number 10, the woolly mammoth. What two things are big, loud, hairy, smell like Parmesan cheese, and frequent the New York area? If you said Ray Romano and woolly mammoths, then you're correct. It all comes full circle. Starting off with an easy one for you today, and folks, it's one of my favorites. A creature that's been long extinct. Comedians and primetime family sitcoms. No, I'm just kidding. I'm talking about woolly mammoths, the large animals that once roamed the earth. Since these are so common, I thought it would be very fun to do a tale of the tape. Standing anywhere between 2.7 to 3 meters tall in the red corner, weighing in a full 6 tons, the beast from the east, woolly mammoth. Okay, well, they weren't just found in the east, but they were big and interesting creatures, especially since this is one of the few ancient species that we've ever interacted with. Having thick skin and fur made them difficult to hunt. It would take a few blows. However, if a smaller one was taken, it would make for a lasting meal. Interesting creatures.
Number 9, Glyptodon. Take an armadillo, size that bad boy up, give it a spicy tail, take away its ability to curl up in a ball, and make it stupid looking, and you've got the 10-foot long 1-ton Glyptodon that lived 2 million to 10,000 years ago. Now, it would be easy to mistake this guy with a turtle or a tortoise, but it was in fact a mammal. It also had a soft underbelly that any predator able to flip over this walking Volkswagen Beetle would be able to exploit. These guys were native to South America, and like I said, they actually were around for a long time, living just past the last ice age. It's believed, like with most things, us humans had a not so small part to play in their disappearance from this world. We would hunt them for food and for their shells, which evidence says ancient man used as shelter from snow and rain.
Number 8, Titanoboa. I actually didn't know this one existed either. There's going to be a trend of large and scary animals here. Well, in the northeastern part of Colombia, a true beast lays still in the jungle, just waiting for a prey to dare come across its path. What would a Titanoboa do if prey came its way? Well, just like its smaller counterpart, it would constrict until you went for a big nap where you would then most likely be swallowed whole. Ugh. Well, at least that's what horror films would want you to think, as recent studies suggest they may have actually only had a diet of fish. If you've ever been on a school field trip to a zoo and got to pet the animals, the boa constrictor is always one of those animals. I don't know why, they always got one on hand, just in their pocket. It's weird. Wouldn't fit, but which I don't know why, because if you've ever felt the power of those muscles, well, it would be a very memorable field trip. Just try and imagine that upscaled by 10. I'm glad this one went extinct a long time ago. That's too big of a snake. Too much power. Too much.
Number 7, Basilosaurus. When I hear the word basil, I think of a lovely smelling herb. Or I think of old Basil, a kind old man, probably with white hair and a big bald spot and a mustache. Now, thanks to this video, I will think of a 65-foot long sea monster with a 3-foot head and a bite force as strong as a T-Rex. Whales have been around for a heck of a long time, and they have had many different ancestors and cousins. All of them were different levels of odd and terrifying. Basil here was one of the earliest identified ones. It was fairly different from its modern descendants, as you can tell from these pictures. It had a longer eel-like body with that tiny head. It only weighed about 10 tons, which is odd for a whale. Being the ancestor of whales, Basilosaurus is a marine mammal, but for a long time it was actually mistaken for a marine reptile, like the mosasaur, being given the nickname king lizard, which is doubly odd because it wasn't even the biggest whale species. That would be the leviathan killer whale. I think I remember why I'm terrified of the sea, yeah.
Number 6, saber-toothed tiger. What's scarier than a full-grown tiger? How about a fully grown tiger with teeth the size of Bowie knives? Wow. Sometimes nature is scary and makes me question reality. The saber-toothed tigers are one of those things. A saber-toothed tiger's diet consisted of large animals, so watch out woolly mammoth and maybe Ray Romano. Obviously most recognized for the protruding large canine teeth that sit outside the mouth even when closed, making for great puncture weapons, as if the large cats needed any more help hunting their prey. Coming into being around the same size as a large Siberian tiger, this is one hefty kitty, and one you wouldn't want to mess with. Fortunately for me and the club of extremely cute gentlemen who cannot run very fast, I do not have to worry about outrunning the speedy, beefy predator. Their extinction is connected to both climate change and a lack of food.
Number 5, the giant sloth. If all of your information about prehistoric giant ground sloths was gathered from watching the animated Ice Age movies, buckle up. For starters, some of these guys were as big as elephants and one of the biggest land mammals. Other versions were as big as oxen or bears, so these suckers were pretty beefy, which I'm sure Sid the Sloth would be happy to hear. They also mostly walked on all fours, although they probably did stand on their hind legs to reach the top of trees and possibly as a defensive tactic. Ice Age was somewhat correct about how they were a little odd. For example, they probably did actually waddle thanks to their giant feet. They also oddly had teeth on the sides of their mouths used for crushing plants. The giant ground sloths are unsurprisingly related to our modern day sloths, but also to anteaters and armadillos. They were mainly South American mammals, but had different versions all over the Americas from 35 million to 11,000 years ago, until around the time of the Ice Age.
Number 4, Gigantopithecus. Put your hands together if you want to clap as I take you through this monkey rap. DK. Donkey Kong. You know what I'm saying? Great game. Although I never understood why his name is Donkey Kong. I digress. Why am I bringing up one of Nintendo's beloved mascots? Well, that's because I'm talking giant ape, baby. That's right. Gigantopithecus was a large ape that lived in Southeast Asia, some parts of China, and Vietnam. Coming in at a whopping 660 pounds, DK here would need to eat a lot of plants, which, judging by teeth and molars and other great apes, suggests he was a herbivore. At least I hope. I'm just gonna keep calling him DK because otherwise I'll be here all day with my dyslexia, but DK is most closely related to orangutans. However, 100,000 years ago, after some severe climate changes and food shortages, DK was no more, and it was game over.
Number 3, terror bird. Such a fitting name. This carnivorous bird became the top predator in South America after the dinosaurs went bye-bye. This bird had about 25 different species, ranging from 1 to 3 meters or 10 feet in height. That's a big bird! Some species could have been scavengers, but others, oh, they were definitely apex predators. Some had big, strong, stout legs that were probably good for kicking prey or even crushing bones, with big curved claws or talons for stabby behavior. They had big skulls with bones that were fused together, unlike a lot of birds, which was probably useful for pecking things into the afterlife with their massive sharp beaks that were also likely useful for getting big, nasty, fleshy bites. Their closest living relatives in South America today take out their prey by picking it up and slamming it into the ground over and over and over and over again. So imagine that, but from a giant 10-foot angry ostrich with a giant beak. So yeah, terror bird. It's a good name.
Number 2, giant beaver. Yeah, my Aunt Flo used to have a bear-sized beaver. Too bad it ran away. Okay, all jokes aside, giant beavers, also known as castoroids. That's a strange name. First discovered in the very busy and important state of Ohio back in 1837, these fossils pop up anywhere from Toronto all the way down to Florida. Getting as large as 7 feet long and just shy of 300 pounds. This is a beaver whose dam you don't want to break. Despite how awesome the giant beavers were, they are now extinct, and despite the Hudson Bay companies or the dismay of French-Canadian fur trappers, the beaver went extinct thousands of years ago. Today we are unsure what made them go extinct. Some suggest hunting, but we're not even sure if they existed along early humans. All I know is that a tail on that bad boy would be very dangerous. Seriously, people don't think the beavers are dangerous, but you gotta be careful around them. And I salute the beaver, as it is Canada's national animal after all.
Number 1, Andrewsarchus. And here we are, Andrew's ancient relative, the Andrewsarchus. The name Andrewsarchus was given as a dedication to Roy Chapman Andrews, who I share a last name with, so maybe I'm related too. Who can say? Andrews, such a unique name, isn't it? Which is fitting because this bad boy right here was unique. Its massive 3-foot skull was very similar to a wolf's skull, but its jaw and tooth structure made it more like a mesonychid, which are related to horses and deers, but also relatives to whales and hippos. It was a giant hoofed carnivore, like a mix between a pig and a wolf, but massive. It probably ate literally anything it could get its jaws around. It could have been anything from tinier mammals to plants and roots to giant herbivores related to rhinos. If I ran into a huge hoofed pig wolf capable of taking down rhinos, I'd just lay down and give up. Luckily, it lived 45 to 35 million years ago in Asia, specifically the area around and near modern-day Mongolia. And Andrewsarchus did not adapt well to the changing times and didn't last as long as other ancient creatures on this list. Just like Andrew, we're still trying to figure out exactly what kind of animal Andrewsarchus was.
Number 10. Except they did! Phoberomus pattersoni was a breed of very large rodent, and this is thought to be the largest of its kind to ever exist. It lived around 8 million years ago, and though it looks like a large rat, it's actually the extinct cousin of the household guinea pig. You know, the little furry guys that are afraid of everything? Yeah, they used to be this big. So picture a massive guinea pig with a long tail and ever-growing teeth. It could grow up to 9 feet long and be as tall as 4.2 feet, according to a near-complete fossil found in May 2000. It was also semi-aquatic, like a capybara. Love a capybara. But its size might have made it look like a buffalo grazing in the water, from a distance anyway. The biggest question that surrounds them isn't just why they went extinct, surprisingly, but why today's rodents are so small if they are related to this beast. Only time will tell, or perhaps it won't. It'll be a mystery forever. Number 9, Haast's eagle. Get ready to meet the head honcho, the top predator in prehistoric fauna New Zealand, Haast's eagle. It had claws as big as a modern day tiger, a 3-meter wingspan, weighed 17.8 kilograms, and this creature was the closest thing to a mythical griffin. It was huge. Its main source of prey was the moa, which was a 3.6 meter high flightless bird. It would dive down from high treetops and crush its skull. It would crush its skull in its grip. Like, oof, like a walnut. That's how powerful it was. Its formidable size allowed the species to survive multiple glacial periods, but it wouldn't be on this list if it was still around. This species is also the most recent on this list, as it only went extinct around 500 to 600 years ago. There are cave drawings centuries old drawn by the Maori that suggest it might have been hunted by the Maori, as it was most likely a threat to some of the offspring in the families. Coincidentally, Haast's eagle also went extinct around the same time its food source, the moa, disappeared as well. Number 8, Arthroplura. 2 words, giant millipede. There, now you know. If this is already too much for you, rest assured it no longer exists, otherwise it wouldn't be on this list. But let's talk about it so we can be a little more grateful for the ones we can squish beneath our Converse. Arthroplura, meaning jointed ribs, was a genus of millipede that roamed during the Carboniferous period. This creepy crawly measured up to 3 meters long, which is about 9 feet long, making it the largest invertebrate of all time. But thank goodness it was a herbivore, meaning it only ate plants. Doesn't really stop it from being terrifying. If you scream and squirm seeing a millipede the size of a crayon, you'd still want to burn your house down. So imagine seeing this thing. Maybe you could treat it like a dog. Number 7, the mega piranha. Check out this video.
At those teeth, I'm being extremely careful here. They just have such powerful jaws. I mean, that would take a serious sized lump out of you.
So imagine that, but bigger, like the size of your boogie board bigger. Bigger fish, bigger teeth, and I'm personally glad they are the size they are now. I know B movies have definitely capitalized on the tiny but mighty horror of these carnivorous fish, but head to South America, there you will find the real horror that existed back in the Miocene period. They found a partially toothed permaxilla, which is like the only part, like the upper part of its jaw, but from the size of it, it's presumed that this genus of piranha may have been over a meter long. So if that thing can take this big of a chunk out of you, imagine whole leg gone. Number 6, the Simlodon. Lions, tigers, saber-toothed super cats, oh my. The Simlodon was a massive saber-toothed cat that lived in the Pleistocene era and roamed within North and South America. The size of the cat itself is comparable to the size of lions and tigers we know today, but its fangs are the stuff of nightmares. They had 2 massive serrated 11-inch long fangs, perfect for tearing and shredding their prey. But their upper body strength was sublime and used to wrestle their meal to the ground to optimize their kill. So imagine like super top heavy. Now researchers used to believe that they took down massive beasts like bison, but it is more likely they hunted tapirs and deer. They lived around 10,000 years ago, and one of the reasons they might have gone extinct was the fact that they didn't diversify their eating habits. So when their food sources disappeared, so did they. That is a simplistic explanation, but just one potential reason as to why we don't have to worry about their toothy grin stalking us while we're camping. Number 5, the Sarcosuchus. A super croc that was afraid of nothing and no one. Don't be afraid. Regular crocodiles today are still absolutely massive and can grow past 9 feet, which is already big enough. I don't know why they shrunk, I'm just glad they did. Sarcosuchus were over 3 times the size of the ones we know today, reaching up to about 40 feet long. What did they eat? Humans! Kidding. They lived 113 million years ago, so extremely not likely at all possible. But if they were alive today, yes they would. They weren't picky eaters, let's just say that. The world was their Mandarin buffet table. Some researchers even estimate that they could take on a Spinosaurus and win. Spinosauruses we'll mention later. Stay tuned. Though they probably stuck to the fast food fish variety in lake and rivers, because honestly, do you want to cook a meal or do you want McDonald's? It's a toss up. I get their mentality though. Sometimes they just want to up the game. Number 4, the Titanoboa. The largest nope rope to ever live, the Titanoboa. 45 feet, my friends. That's about 8 of me lying on the ground, or the size of a school bus. The Titan boa was the largest snake to ever live and ruled tropical areas of the world for, I don't know, 6 million years. That's dedication. Remains of the colossal creature were found in Colombia and were able to determine its size based on the diameter of its vertebrae. The size of this snake also helped scientists determine how hot the earth was back then. They know that the size of cold-blooded animals is dependent on where they live. The fact that this snake could get so large means it was a lot hotter by the equator than it is today. Wait, does that mean if the planet keeps heating up through global warming, snakes will get bigger like that? I don't want it. I don't want it. If you guys are still with us, remember to like and follow and just show us some love, because we're just a little baby channel and we need your support, and we'll give you lots of love and metaphorical kisses. Number 3, Megalania. Okay, I actually find Komodo dragons pretty terrifying. They're cool, but terrifying, and they exist in the modern day. They are massive, venomous, and cunning creatures, and if that's what we have today, imagine what a Megalania is. The Megalania is the ancient Australian relative of the Komodo dragon, though its closest living relative is the lace monitor. This creature was one of, if not the largest venomous vertebrate to ever live on planet Earth. Weighing 1,370 pounds and measuring out to 7 meters, this gigantic apex predator roamed over 50,000 years ago. Good thing I'm not that old. They got to have the pick of the prey, presumably feeding on marsupials, other reptiles, eggs, chicks, whatever they felt like. Early Aboriginal settlers in Australia may have even encountered them. Whether they were predator or prey, we may never know. Number 2, the Tyrannosaurus Rex. I've actually never talked about T-Rex on MA or here yet, so here we are. Jurassic Park is one of the most iconic Spielberg movies because it brought to life creatures of such size and magnitude we could only imagine. The T-Rex sounds terrifying, but when Steven brought this colossal monster to the big screen, I wasn't the only one shaking in my boots. Why? Because of this scene. No! I'm so glad these don't exist anymore. Imagine if they did. The only thing tiny about these things were their arms. But their 6-inch long teeth and 4-foot jaw, no thank you. Despite its sharp teeth, it did not chew its food, it would often just swallow chunks whole. It even had a throat that absorbed the shock from struggling prey, like it was designed to do that. Reaching 40 feet long and 12 feet high, I'm very, very happy that they lived 90 million years before any of us were born. And last but not least, the Spinosaurus. See, promised. I love this name because it accurately describes what feature stood out the most on this massive dino. It may not surprise you to learn that the Spinosaurus had a rather spectacularly shaped spine. It had a large sail-like spine that was probably used to signify the species or used to store water. Researchers still aren't quite sure, but as to its size, this creature had a skull 6 feet long, all the better to eat you with. The Spinosaurus was longer and heavier than the T-Rex, therefore it wore the crown as the largest carnivorous dinosaur. And here we thought the T-Rex was the king of the jungle. Weighing in anywhere from 13 to 22 tons, its crocodile-shaped skull and sharp dagger-like teeth, they ate anything from fish to other dinosaurs, meaning they'd have no problem devouring you. Thank the asteroid, they are no longer with us. It is pretty sad that any of these species went extinct at all. After all, they were just like us and did everything they could to survive. Though at the same time, for the sake of our nightmares, I'm pretty content that they live on in history books and not in my backyard.